Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to TRTN here in VSR Phoenix Season 7, Round 8. I, of course, am Regan Clark, and you join us on the midway mark of the championship here from a sunny New South Wales, Australia, at the mighty Mount Panorama Circuit. Founded back in 1938 and is comprised of 23 turns and 6.2 kilometres or 3.8 miles of FIA Grade 3 and is the pinnacle of Australian motorsports, home of the Bathurst 1000 in the V8 Supercar Series and of the Intercontinental GT Series is 12 Hours of Bathurst. It is a mighty, mighty track indeed. Plenty of challenges up ahead for our drivers as they hit the midway mark of this championship, as we watch on board at the moment with SN Queese in the number 223 BMW as they head up round Solomon and McPhillamy Park and down towards Skyline. We're going to get a full comprehensive run through then over the course of this qualifying session. But before we do that, let's see if we can get a rundown of our championship standings, and things have changed massively in the favour of one in this top 5, that being ETE Gilles, now up to second, 3 positions since the last round, but 170 points away from the leader, Just Boris. In joint third position is Fast Fanatical and Soviet Mario in third with 221 points, only 10 points behind them is Region in 5th position. VSR Twiglet and VSR Funky Fish are joint 6th position with 198 points. VSR Chris, otherwise going by Old Man on Track, has 189 points and is 8th position. In 9th position is VSR Pete with 185 points, and in 10th is Oatsy with 182. So we stay on board then as we begin our rundown of the Mount Panorama Circuit here with SN Queese. Going on board the BMW to take us down towards turn 1 then. Hell Corner is this incredibly sharp left-hander, very high raised curb on the inside there, taking a wide exit over the rumble curbs and up towards the first of our two major straights here. The mountain straight, the shorter of the two, is 1.1 kilometres long, taking us up towards Griffin's Bend at turn 2. Now this opens up opportunities plenty for our straight line speed cars, the BMW among them. We'll get a look at the balance of performance after this lap here from SN Queese as our benchmark heading out of turn 2 and up into turns 3, 4 and 5 at the cutting here. This incredibly sharp open hairpin left cuts in on itself, hence the name. Going up through Quarry Corner now at turn 6 and 7, bring us to Reed and Frog Hollow. And beginning our perilous run around the mountain section now as we barrel out of turn 9, down past Solomon Park, down into McPhillamy there, just past the wall of death on our driver's right-hand side, on our left-hand side, watching a nose of the car there. Heading down Skyline at turns 11 and 12, into the S's at turns 13 and 14, and the Dipper at turn 15, very quickly thrown at the drivers here in this section of the track, bringing us all the way down to turn 18 at Forest's Elbow. Then out through the slight kink to the left-hand side of turn 19, down the Conrod straight now, the longer of the two, just under 2 kilometres long, is a monstrously long stretch of FIA Grade 3. Plenty of slipstreaming and overtaking opportunities on the bookings here. If the drivers can chain good momentum out of turns 18 and turn 19, we'll see definite advantage out of BMW and Ford for this round. And a notable mention going to Lexus, bringing us down then to turns 20 through 22 at the Chase. Another major attacking spot on track here, bringing us into the last corner. That being turn 23 at Murray's Corner. Loading up our timing charts then on the left-hand side to see how these times rank up in favour of SN Queese, as our benchmark time down towards the line of 202.550. Next to the line is the number 27. If we can try and find them in time, but we'll see the times come up very shortly from our drivers as they cross the line. I believe the next to the line currently on valid is Just Boris. Getting a look at the qualifying predictions for today, we can see that Tyler Vermack is predicted at pole, with Just Boris only off by about 0.05 of a second. You see his first time coming in already at 201.677. Tommy sets the third fastest time. Indian Goat in 4th position after our first rung of times. We've still got a few more drivers to head down towards the line before we're totally finished off there. VSR Chris only 6th fastest, as going up to second is a new driver for this round. That's Elite Cassie NL. We'll have more to discuss about them over the course of this this qualifying session. I believe that was, yes, barreling down out of turn 1 was Elite Cassie NL. Just Boris currently leading the timing sessions. Next towards the line, the number 11 of VSR Racing in the Ferrari 488. So looking further down our qualifying predictions, of course, Just Boris predicted just off of pole position by 500ths of a second. Hayden Puttock, who sadly is a no-show for this round after his historic victory with Honda at the Circuit of the Americas, is predicted for third, or would have been, ahead of the Blue Frog and VSR Chris. VSR Pete then shoving up a position to fifth, Chris to fourth, and Blue Frog to third. Grizz then will go up to sixth, Region up to seventh, Funky Fish up to eighth, and Twiglet up to ninth in the best of situations. The sudden omission of third place does open a bit of a power vacuum for a lot of these drivers, especially in and around the top end of silver, the bottom end of gold, to come and have a go at wowing the crowds here for round 8 of the championship. Rafing gets across the line a moment ago for the 9th fastest time. Looking up towards that top 3 as that's increased rounds turn 23 down towards the line. Is it going to be an improvement to second ahead of Elite Cassie? Getting across the line does not appear to be the case for the BMW. So more on this new driver. Elite Cassie NL joins from the gold category as the latest driver to do so in the number 99, currently appearing as the 98 AMG. One of a select handful of drivers to have picked the AMG for this round. We'll get a look at how that's going to affect them over the course of this race when we bring up the balance of performance charts. But right now, let's have a look at another driver currently out on a flying lap. That's VSR Funky Fish. New nameplates for a lot of drivers today, donning the moniker of VSR, of course, in homage to the league itself, as we can now see Tyler Vermack go fastest, and on a brand new drive, I should add as well, to Ferrari, ditching Lamborghini after round 7 of the championship, now driving with the firm from Maranello. We'll stay on board, as a matter of fact, then with Tyler Vermack to discuss this further. Of course, it's quite a historic move away from Lamborghini, a manufacturer that was otherwise getting fairly solid treatment in balance of performance over the course of the last 7 weeks of racing, or 6 weeks considering our Super Sprint round. But over the course of the season, Lamborghini has been in a very comfortable position, and I think Tyler Vermack has jumped ship right at the perfect time. It's getting a look at our balance of performance. Ferrari lose 17 kilos on the 296 and 40 kilos on the 488. So very, very impressive stuff. Ferrari are going to be to a great advantage coming into this round. McLaren, who are normally on the subtle end of modifications under balance of performance, have been given a hefty penalty with a ballast of 17 kilos. That's the second heaviest any car has been under this balance of performance. The heaviest is 20 kilos added to Ford Performance's Mustang. So the car no stranger to the Bathurst 1000, with the Mark 7 Mustang being used as a base plate for V8 supercars. Ford are really on the back foot coming into this round. That leaves several drivers like ETE Gilles, who's just recently shoved up to second, has gained 3 positions amongst the maelstrom of last round at the Circuit of the Americas. It's really going to put them on the disadvantage coming into this round. Elsewhere, looking in the balance of performance, we can see things looking brighter for Porsche, who are normally gaining weight in most of these rounds, now find themselves in the negative, losing 12 kilos for round 8 of the championship. As for Aston Martin, it's definitely the more subtle of changes that the firm has received. Only a singular kilo added to the advantage coming into this round, as we see Tyler Vermack getting a little bit out of shape down at the chase. We have people in chat already asking for some driver coverage. Let's see if we can go and find one of the drivers currently out on the track, whom I believe should be in this session. We're looking for Grizz on one of his most recent drives in the silver category. We are trying to find him here. He was scheduled for an entry into this round. We can see we're at record high numbers. 30 drivers. A fully packed out grid is going to make for an incredible round here at the midway of the championship. So looking for Grizz is our current objective, as we can see times continue to roll in. Tyler Vermack still holding pole position by 600ths of a second to Just Boris. VSR Chris now in third, with Elite Cassie, newcomer to the series, in fourth position ahead of SN Queese, and Chris MCK08 on his second race in the championship. Actually, I believe his third race, as he joined back in Brands Hatch 2 rounds ago. On his third race, finds his way into the top 10 ahead of Regent Tommy, Soviet Mario and Otzi. Right now, though, we are looking for Grizz. He has adopted a brand new name. Here we go, ICE Grizz. On a brand new livery, mind you, for McLaren. Normally donning the black and blue, is now green and white. So a stark contrast there, if you want to put it in sort of video game terms. This is perhaps PlayStation to Xbox and vice versa. So heading down round turn 20, down towards the chase. on towards the end of this current lap. They looked pretty slow out of Sector 2 for Ice Grizz. So we'll see what he's capable of by the end of next lap. We'll see exactly what lap time this is. Coming in towards the line at the moment, we can see already 21 drivers have set times so far. And with 9 minutes left to go in qualifying, Grizz becomes the latest to set a time there. Good enough for 12th position. Was looking a little slow out of Sector 2, so definitely raring up for another run around the track as he joins up alongside VSR Chris, formerly known as Old Man on Track. So plenty of name swaps coming into this round. VSR Chris probably the most impactful among them, completely swapping the name out this time. If we go and take a look here, VSR Chris, number 28, formerly known as Old Man on Track. So adjusting the audience into the changes here to naming, as the VSR team are undergoing a big restructuring and rebrand. So the GTR nameplates we used to see on Twiglet, Daily Boy and Millard are all gone. And a few more drivers have adopted the VSR nameplate, Chris being among them. We also have Abok and Dollar Up that have adopted the VSR nameplate coming into this round. So just sort of advising everyone on the changes at hand. With just Boris just making his way down towards turn 2. We saw crossing the line there was another one of the new drivers. The number 996 down in the bronze category of Taz MCFC. Racing with Ford Performance is really going to be on the back foot for this round with that heavy set balance of performance debuff for Ford. 20 kilos extra over curb weight. For a heavyweight like the Ford that already handles quite loftily, it may not be something that is so dramatically felt, but they're going to really feel it in that mountain section where manoeuvrability is paramount. No pun intended. Heading around the field then to take a look at our next times coming in. The number 982 is next to the line, and that's VSR Funky Fish, one of several, as I mentioned before, to adopt the new VSR nameplate. They're 13th at the end of last lap. The number 207 is next to the line, and that's Aussie 207 in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Only a single kilo added to the Vantages coming into this round. Furthest up the field for Aston Martin is Oatsy in 8th position right now as Aussie gets relegated down to 19th. The sudden arrival of Antion in the number 1 relegates him just further back towards the back of the top 20. They're in 18th. Being followed very closely on track, mind you, by Wadenator up in 14th position. We can see looks like slowing down there. Down the straight was VSR Twiglet. In the Lexus, that is peculiar. The number 96 coming to a slow there on the right hand side of the track. I believe letting drivers get by them on the run down towards turn 2. There goes Regent heading up into turn 2. The Lexus is definitely going to have a great time for this round. As ever with Lexus, they're losing quite a heavy bit of weight for this race. Still in the double figures, maybe not as much as the 40 kilos they were losing round on round, but 13 kilos to play with still puts them lighter than Porsche and BMW and Aston Martin for that matter as well. So they are definitely still going to be up there in the runnings for round 8. Heading down Skyline then, the Lexus is going to have its own fair share of challenges. I think we've already discussed in detail over the course of the last 6 weeks of racing just what kind of challenges Twiglet has faced, choosing such unorthodox and frankly outdated machinery as the Lexus RCF. Of course, been around since the launch of the game so many years ago. I think we're looking towards the 10-year anniversary of Assetto Corsa Competizione very soon. This vehicle has stuck around, not only in that, but in the real life SRO GT World Challenge for quite some time. Definitely has found its footing in the world of endurance racing. Lexus is a prominent figure in the IMSA Sports Car Championships GT Pro and AM class, for that matter, where it has been a very favourable choice. Proves that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And we'll see here for VSR Twiglet heading out of turn 23 exactly where he can place himself on the end of this lap with only a meagre 5 minutes left to go. They cross the line for 21st at the moment, holding position for that next lap gone. Looking at the current gap between our front runners, Tyler Vermaak opens it to nearly 2/10 of a second, but what can Just Boris do as a rebuttal? Out of turn 23 we go, the 999 down towards the line. Is it going to be pole position? Yes it is, and by nearly 1/10 of a second. 2 minutes .965 there by Just Boris. What kind of rebuttal can Tyler Vermaak offer? You can see there the number 22 Ferrari now making his way down the mountain straight. Or up the mountain straight, we should say. He will be down the Conrod straight later down the line of this lap. They're heading up through turn 2 into the qualifying duel to be for round 8 of this championship. Goes Tyler Vermaak on a very healthy set of wheels, let's put it. Definitely breathed a lot of breath into, what's the expression you say? Breathed a lot of life into his lungs, moving from Lamborghini to Ferrari. Definitely put quite the spring in his step coming into this round of the championship, and you can definitely see it reflected in the way that he's able to properly push that Ferrari in ways that he just couldn't manage in the Huracan. The car would step out and become too flaky. You can see the Ferrari is just tough enough to take it. So heading down Skyline, you can see making that look a breeze there, hugging the inside wall. Barely any room there. Be close enough to stick your hand out the window and brush the sponsor boards there. Out of turn 18 we go. It's been very nimble by Tyler Vermaak. And bear in mind, I believe this is only just his outlap. So this is definitely putting a lot of good momentum in mind here for Vermaak heading down the Conrod straight. Where the major Achilles heel for the Ferrari is going to be is on these straights here. The 296 isn't renowned for straight line speed. That V6 has a lot less to give at top gear compared to the last generation's twin-turbo V8 engine. Ferrari sacrificed some of that straight-line speed that the 488 and 458 had in exchange for the absolutely supreme manoeuvrability the 296 platform has in the current day. So heading out of turn 23. Now we'll see what the rebuttal is from Vermaak. We'll try and get an onboard with him over the course of this lap here, in what is potentially pole position to be. So out of turn 1, we can see VSR Abark up the field there on the mountain straight. Just joining us out of the pit lanes is Taz MCFC alongside VSR Dollar Up. But for Tyler Vermaak, it is Judgment Day here. He's some way down on the standing order. If we take a look at our gold standings, for Tyler Vermaak, he is quite some way down the order, but has plenty of opportunities to start gaining positions. Could see himself in the top 5 by the end of the championship. This is courtesy of a later start than most for Vermaak. And moving over to Ferrari is now going to add its own set of challenges for the second half of Season 7. Just Boris, though, leading by 170 points to ETE Gilles, who sits only 4 points ahead of the warring duo Fast Fanatical and Soviet Mario, with Regent hanging back by 10 points to round out that top 5. That is a very close state of affairs in the positions behind Just Boris. But if that performance is anything to go by, with Hayden Puttick reappearing potentially next round, could see withering performance by the championship leader, drawing in further opportunities for others in gold to catch him up, as we saw back in Kota. That loss in points is slowly drawing the gap near for others to come and have a go. And on a track as difficult as this, that could throw even further questions up in the air. I think right now, the absolute goal of Just Boris is to secure pole position far and away. We've also seen as well Tommy in the number 66 BMW, only 7 thousandths of a second faster than Vermaak on the end of their lap. But as Vermaak rounds down towards turn 23, we'll see what they can do. They only have to find a 1/10 of a second here to reclaim pole position. Bear in mind, just under a minute left to go, so one more lap in the bookings if he can't get it here. Getting across the line, I don't believe it's in it for pole position just yet, but he's got one more attempt to make this possible. So out of turn 1, 22 corners to go. Could Tyler Vermaak secure pole position off of Just Boris? And Tommy even has his own set of challenge here from second position. Could be facing a front row start if Vermaak bottles this lap. Could be facing a second row start alongside newcomer Elite Cassie NL, who's looking to stay in the pit lanes for what is going to be as good a finish as 4th position right now for the new signing of Season 7. The number 223 is into the pits after a yellow flag. Same story for the number 27. Will stay on board with Tyler Vermaak, as he is currently in the green, heading up through Reed and Frog Hollow. and up towards Solman and McPhillamy Park there, going to clash heads nearly with the wall of death on your left-hand side. Down towards Skyline Hill we go, and it is looking raringly fast here for Tyler Vermack. Properly got the burners on, all cylinders firing on that Ferrari. It's going to be chained together all in that last lap. Right now, he's 3/10 up as he rounds turn 18. So this is looking incredibly promising for Tyler Vermack. It's been such a captivating lap here by the number 22 on his first drive for Ferrari this season that we've not been able to discuss the silver and bronze standings. We'll get a good look at that once we cover the starting grid, which looks to be changing at the moment in the hands of Tyler Vermack. He's only got a few more corners to go here. He's on the drive of his life down towards the chase. Down at turns 21 and 22. It's looking incredibly promising. Still up in and around the 3/10 of a second barrier. He's got one more corner to conquer at turn 23. What can Tyler Vermack do then on what has been an incredible qualifying lap? Is it going to be pole position for Vermack in the 22 down towards the line? Yes, it is. What a lap there by Tyler Vermack. Well done. That is brilliant stuff. Absolutely seconds to none there by Tyler Vermack. Every now and again, one wonders of the perfect lap, and I think we got very dangerously close to seeing it today there in the hands of Tyler Vermack. There looked like absolutely no stress in the number 22 Ferrari. That was brutal. Absolutely brutal. What a drive then to bring us in to the start of round 8. Tommy will start only a single tenth of a second off of Just Boris. So incredibly close there. So that is a very close top four, mind you. Only 0.8 of a second dividing them at the highest between first and fourth, and a completely varied top four as well. Mercedes in fourth, BMW third, McLaren second, Ferrari in first. This is looking to be a very exciting start to the Bathurst round of this championship. 1 hour in the bookings here in Australia. I suppose whilst we've got the time as well, just before our grid, we can take a look at the silver standings. Things looking very close for Twiglet as he's joint first at the moment of the championship with Funky Fish. We could see a shift here past the halfway mark. VSR Pete in third, but only by around, looking at it there, 13 points, and he's only 3 points ahead of Oatsy and Blue Frog round out that top 5. Very, very close stuff. We've got to look at our grid here before we cover the bronze standings. Tyler Vermack then on a absolutely brutal run to pole position. Just Boris in second place with Tommy in third alongside new signing Elite Cassie NL in fourth with Mercedes. VSR Chris rounds out that top 5. SN Crease in sixth alongside VSR Twiglet. A very high up position for Lexus in this round. Things looking very promising for Twiglet in the 96. They start from 7th. ETE Giles in 8th position, dealing with that 20 kilo ballast on the Mustang for this round, but has still put in a very respectable top 10 start, alongside Chris MCK08 on his 3rd race in the season so far. The Porsche in 9th position. Rounding out the top 10 is FR77, otherwise known as Regent, in the number 420 Ferrari. They start in 10th. Oatsy starts outside the top 10 in 11th alongside Soviet Mario, and Grizz and Wadenator make 13th and 14th. Taz MCFC on his first race starts in 15th alongside VSR Funky Fish. VSR Pete starts 17th alongside VSR Racing 75 in 18th. Ice Antion starts 19th position alongside VSR Daily Boy to round out the top 20. Taking us to our last 10 then of a record high 30 driver start. We have Aussie in 21st alongside Indian Goat in 22nd. Evil Smiler 23rd with Abok in 24th. Dollar Up 25th with brand new signing Jay in 26th. In the bronze category, number 85 BMW starts alongside Blue Frog in 27th. In 28th then is DSM Yonder and VSR Millard in 29th. Rounding out that top 30 is Space and the number 30 McLaren. So a very packed out grid for today. Those of you wondering in chat which league this is VSR Phoenix. You can find them in the link that will be posted in the chat in a moment's time. It is a very, very good league to keep an eye on. Plenty of drivers we recognise in here today over our travels over the course of TRTN. It has been a grand series to cover thus far. And still 8 more rounds in this championship left to go. So we can then cover the bronze standings, and looking at it here, it's a single point between Evil Smiler and Antion, and then 30 points between Avok and Antion. So things looking much more like a two-horse race here at the halfway mark between Smiler and Antion, Porsche versus Ferrari at the 8th round of the championship. We've got the 30-second warning then, so we'll be going on board with our pole sitter, Tyler Vermack, on what has been a fantastic final qualifying lap to have covered there. Now take us away, 30 cars in all for this round of the championship. Whilst he does, let's recount the recent news then in the world of motorsports. I'm sure plenty of you have been watching NASCAR over the course of the last weekend, as Will Byron secures his second Daytona win in a row and becomes the youngest ever driver in NASCAR history to do so. That record previously being held by Jeff Gordon in the number 24. Will Byron also sporting the 24 with Jeff Gordon as his manager at Hendricks Motorsports. Elsewhere, I'm sure plenty more. We're watching the F175 reveal with the stark new look of Visa Cash App Racing Bull's car, now donning what is very eerily close to Red Bull's special livery they ran back in 2021 at the Turkish Grand Prix. It is looking very mighty for them indeed. They were one of course, the 10 current teams to reveal brand new liveries, most of whom which did look the same as last season, of course, and there are plenty of examples there. Mercedes, Aston, not Aston actually, Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren, chief among them, for the sort of same of last year. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. I suppose that is the mindset. New looks then out of Ferrari. Plenty more white on the car since last year. Moving back towards what was a sort of 2000s look, back when they had the Marlboro sponsors. And elsewhere in the world, there was the World Rally Championships, Rally Sweden, the second round of the championship, which was taken home yet again by Toyota Gazoo Racing, this time in the hands of Welshman Elfyn Evans and teammate Scott Martin. And they won overall and in the power stage at Rally Sweden. It was a very, very good time for them. It wasn't a good time, however, for Adrian Formeau and Alexandra Coria with Hyundai Shell Mobis WRT. Formeau was fined for swearing after a disappointing Sweden result. The Frenchman had several stage wins under his belt by the time he got to stage 13 on Saturday, where 900 metres in, he would run off of the path and into a heavy embankment of snow, losing several minutes of time, dropping him from 5th to 35th in the championship. In a WRC TV interview, he said, and I'm quoting here, "We f***ed up." And that's what led to a €10,000 fine. Now, not necessarily my position to comment on the FIA's dealings as a commentator for esports, but surely there's got to be a better system than this. I think these are athletes competing at their absolute peak. There's going to be a bit of crass language, especially when they're disappointed. After all, we are all still human. And this is one of several instances in the last year and a half of drivers being accosted by the FIA for their sort of cursing. But I think plenty of drivers from seasons gone by have put it better than I, that these drivers are competing at the absolute apex of their ability. You really can't anticipate sensibilities out of them, especially when things have gone wrong. That is a very human reaction by a lot of them. So then, rounding out our news as we go back into looking at those championship standings, Tyler Vermack is a long way away from making that top 10 at the moment, but this could be his time to shine here. His first pole position of this, actually second pole position of the season, if memory serves correctly. He was on one with Lamborghini. And his first pole position with Ferrari then, a brand new look, a brand new car for round 8 of the championship. It's looking very, very promising then. If that pace was anything to go off of when he really channels the energy necessary, I really do think Tyler Vermack could be on for a very solid result, if not a race win today. He's got quite the grid backing him up. Heading down into turn 1, it is by no stretch of the imagination going to be an easy endeavour for Vermack. But here's hoping from us here on TRTN, the best of luck to the number 22 and to all 30 drivers competing in round 8 of the championship. Record high numbers for VSR Phoenix Season 7. Previous record was, I think, in at around 26 drivers a few rounds ago. This is looking to be a bit hectic, to say the least. The mountain is unforgiving and indiscriminate to drivers of all walks of life, discipline and skill. It is going to throw quite a challenge in the direction of these 30 as they take to the climb for what is going to be an hour-long race here in round 8 of the championship. We head then down towards turn 1. Without further ado, a very short run to our timing lines here for round 8 of the championship here in VSR Phoenix Season 7. Without further ado, as we are on the crawl to the line, 30 cars in all, we are green and racing in the land down under. A drive-through penalty issued to Elite Cassie in the Mercedes to kick us off then. It was an incredibly close start between the first 2 rows of the grid. We can see further down the line, things looking relatively clean for the time being. No real pushing and shoving from all 30 drivers. A very remarkable start indeed to get all 30 cars through turn 1 in good condition, but it is in very close top 4 at the moment, nearly side by side by the looks of it between our 2 front runners, as Tyler Vermack looks to take it to the inside as Just Boys tries to switch around at turn 2. Looking in the rear view, you get quite the precise view of things from the perspective of our current race leader, Tyler Vermack, taking us away from pole position here on lap 1. An incredibly close-winded train of cars. Taking us up through the hill. We've already got a few cars out of this one. The number 11, the number 27 among them. Heading out of Solman into McPhillamy and down through Skyline. It is incredibly, almost unbearably close between the top 3. Tyler Vermack leading from Just Boris and Tommy in 3rd. Elite Cassie in 4th position. Out there in the top 5, I believe that's SN Queese in the black and red BMW. Out through turn 18 we go. We do have white flags down towards Skyline Hill. Number 72 is back out on track, out of turn 2, so there definitely was some degree of incident down the line on lap 1. Maybe spoke a little too soon about the clean start we were hoping for, but Vermack leads from Boris. Tommy in 3rd. The McLaren is slowly gaining on the Ferrari down at the Conrod straight, but it's just too far away to lodge an attack too early on in this race. 58 minutes, of course, on the line here for round 8 of the championship. We'll see what these two are capable of over the course of the next 58 minutes. Looking down the line, we can see things looking fairly close by what looked to be the battle between, and we've completely lost them because of the menu navigation, VSR Dollar Up and the Blue Frog for 23rd position. Looking around the field, Twiglet looks to get the leg up on Chris MCK08. He's up to 7th position from the race start in the Lexus. Ferrari leading from McLaren. BMW makes 3 positions all the way down there from 3rd to 5th. Porsche in 6th. Lexus in 7th. Ford in 8th. Watch on board then with VSR Twiglet. He's got a clear line of sight all the way up to 3rd at the moment as we head into the cuttings. .22 still leading from the 999. If we take a look at our last race winners, you can see it's a pretty one-sided affair at the moment. The 999 taking 6 of 7 wins this season so far. The 7th win going to the 313 of Hayden Puttock in the Honda NSX. Sadly, a no-show for this round, but that gives rise to a new rising star, in that being the new signing to Ferrari, Tyler Vermack. We'll stay on board though with Twiglet. The perilous run down Skyline Hill through the S's and at the dipper here. Very easy for you to run to the far side of the track, make contact with a few walls and spin yourself the wrong way around, but all of these drivers at the moment in our sight have made their way through with very little issue at all. We can see that gap start to open as well, as I believe the 66 may be up in the 2nd. So let's get a look at what's going on in our front row, as I believe there's been a shift of position. Trying to get a look here. You can see that, as a matter of fact, Tommy is up into 2nd ahead of Just Boris. The BMW has really rose to the challenge in that last lap. Now challenging the might of the 999 McLaren. Really hard to get a proper view on what is going on here. Menu navigation, as ever, not particularly grand here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Here's the perspective of Taz in the 996, looking to position himself in for a fight of 11th position up against Otzi. Right behind him there is Wadenator, so a tough crowd to play against here. All front engine cars for 5 positions around. Soviet Mario 10th. Otzi in 11th with Aston Martin. Taz and Wadenator with Ford in 12th and 13th position. VSR Funky Fish lining up behind them with Aston Martin in 14th. So close proximity to fellow heavyweight drivers. Those front engine cars, nothing to be trifled with at all. It looks closer to, in fact, being a battle of 12th position for Taz as he looks to now move onto the defensive against Wadenator in the 169. Let's see if we can go and get a look then at what's going on toward our front row. Just Boris is lagging behind. Something is awry with the 999 McLaren. You can see already he's dropping off time. The McLaren, which is otherwise one of the more manoeuvrable cars, especially on a circuit like this, has plenty of rotation to give, is looking rather stiff for this opening performance. It was a good qualifying, undone at the last second by a magnificent run by Ferrari's Tyler Vermack. But the McLaren of Just Boris is just pushing with nothing left to give. He's still struggling to give pace here against Tommy in the BMW, now donning the colours of Roller. SN Queese in the BMW behind him is keeping a healthy gap at the moment, is looking to close that down soon with VSR Chris and Chris MCK08 bearing down on him from 5th and 6th position. Heading down the Conrod straight then, Just Boris looking to gain time on Tommy. That's down to about 0.6 of a second. We could be seeing the imminent proceedings of a battle of second on our hands here once it's already swung in the favour of the BMW. Boris is looking to reclaim second position from Tommy, but it has been a very enthusiastic drive by Tommy over the course of the last couple of rounds. Of course, he wowed our expectations back in Zolder and has been keeping the ball rolling ever since. Now on his drive with BMW, things are looking very, very hopeful for the number 66. Oh my goodness, look at that there. Just Boris spinning off at turn 1. Oh my goodness. I wasn't prepared for that, but that's damage for Just Boris. That puts his hopes of a race win up in serious jeopardy as he drops down behind ETE Gilles. That's out of hell corner. Gives it way too much on the throttle there. Getting over the curbs, in at the wall. That was a decent tank slapper there over the rear left. That could have even done damage to his rear aero. So we go back on board with Boris. He's now behind Regent with Soviet Mario giving chase from 10th position. So things have suddenly gone downhill for the championship leader. You can see the damage alongside the, I think it's the left-hand side of his car. Over what would be the passenger side here on the McLaren. Actually, it's the driver's side there. It's left-hand drive, my mistake. You can see that wiggle there out of McPhillamy and down towards Skyline. That's definitely something more than what we're just seeing here. That could even be some suspension damage as well. The car's uncertain about itself. It could be a broken anti-roll bar as well. Whatever is going on in that McLaren, it's not getting any better. Regent's peeling away. Soviet Mario is just levelling off before he gives chase himself. Let's go and have a look at what's going on around the grid. Grizz at the moment chasing Dollar up 2 of the newly christened ICE and VSR drivers, making their way down Skyline Hill, the twin set of McLarens, down towards turn 15. What a sudden shift then we're dealing with, not 10 minutes in to round 8, and our championship leader is in jeopardy. Another driver who is in serious jeopardy as well started 4th position, and it's Elite Cassie NL on his first drive with Mercedes, and in this season no less. It has been a very tough round to open on. Started in 4th position, down to 20th, a net loss of 16 positions for reasons we are currently unaware of. It could have been definitely a case where they were caught up in some of the maelstrom of the first couple of laps. You can see Just Boris sneaking around the back end of Regent at this current time. Could be even eyeing the Ferrari up for a position. It's been a very fun day, let's say, for the drivers in and around the top 10 to have gained an extra position at the chagrin of the current championship leader. As for that gap up front, Tommy is dropping behind Tyler Vermack, but is forging a healthy gap to SN Queese. So he's looking for a front row finish at the minimum. Could even capitalise on some mistakes from Vermack. Still, we must consider he's on his... oh yes, I just remember now that Mason reminded us that he got a drive-through penalty. It was just, we kind of got distracted there by that massive off by the race, well, the championship leader was soon to possibly be a race leader in his own respect. We watch here at the moment a three-way fight for 3rd position. We're watching from the car in the middle. VSR Chris previously known as Old Man on Track in the number 28. Finds himself in a bit of a precarious spot. Chris MCK08 in the Porsche, number 81. Not too far away from him. He's looking to gain ground, though, on fellow BMW SN Queese in the 223. Heading down towards the chase. You can see it's BMW 2, 3 and 4 at the moment. BMW have really been able to shine with the balance of performance coming in around 8 of the championship. Taking another look at that. BMW lost 7 kilos coming into this round. So it has been definitely a much better round for BMW. They've normally been on the harsher end. I believe Chris MCK08 just disconnected from behind there. That is, that I believe, yeah, is trouble in store for Chris MCK08. He was in a very good position coming into this round. The 999, I should add, I'll have to catch up to you in a moment on this, as the 999 is, I believe, down and out. He's heading into the pits then. Further damage for Just Boris. You can see he's took a hefty nose impact. We had yellow flags out for Sector 3. That is not going well for Just Boris at the moment. Championship leader now looks to be relegated out of the top 20 with only 10 minutes covered here in round 8. What is the plan to be for Just Boris? It's a 170-point gap at the moment to the nearest car, but that gap is going to drop away if he drops out of this race. It will nearly half over the course of this race alone. So definitely not what they were expecting coming into this round. Did say it was going to throw challenges in all directions for drivers of all skill level. We weren't expecting it to catch out a driver so collected in their performance over the course of this season. Very rarely have we seen a mistake of that scale out of Just Boris. I think the last time on TRTN we ever saw a mistake like that was back in Zolder in the TRR Sprint Series. It goes back a long, long way. That does show just how squeaky clean a record Just Boris had. To see him make a mistake of that scale is very, very rare indeed. We're watching at the moment with VSR Funky Fish as Taz MCFC 1989 chases them for position. Taz on his first race, mind you, in this championship is making a very stand-up start to it. Let's see if we can go on board then with Taz as he continues to give chase to the Aston Martin. This is in the fight for 11th position. You can see as well in the background VSR Pete slowly gaining ground when these two continue to trip over each other. Down towards the chase we go. You can see there is the physical gap, barely anything between it, 0.5 of a second. The Mustang has better straight line speed despite that 20 kilos of ballast. It does very little to hamper its ability to give chase down these monstrously long straights here. Over a kilometre each, 1.1 for the mountain straight after turn 1, and for the Comrade straight just gone there, that was nearly 2 kilometres long, 1.9. So we'll stay on board with Taz in the 996. Out of turn 1 we go. You can see that the Aston had a much wider exit, but it's giving them more momentum, 0.6 of a second as they exit turn 1.7 as they start the climb up the mountain straight. Down towards turn 2 we go. So it seems they're soon to run into traffic. The 223 is in trouble. The yellow flags are shown for the number 223 car. Just as we head around the cuttings, we'll get a perspective of what's gone on here from the 996's point of view. That was SN Queese, so that's one of our top 5 out of the runnings there at turns 3 and 4. They've spun around, facing the wrong way around the track. As we stay on board though with Taz, this is now the battle of 10th position, and he's getting ever closer to the back end of the Aston Martin. Contact between the pair. VSR Funky Fish very nearly out of this race. It looks like critical damage over the front left. Taz remaining behind as to not take advantage of his own mistake there, going too close to the back of the Aston Martin. Looking to make up for that contact. That was very nasty between the pair of them. It looks to be resolved at least somewhat temporarily, but that looks to be further damage internally to the Aston Martin. You can see he's having to tiptoe around turn 18 at Forest's elbow. Out of turn 19, we'll see what the damage is looking like for VSR Funky Fish. See at the moment is not really able to keep level footing at the centre of the track. It could be some steering damage. We'll get a look on board with him in a moment's time. Taz, though, still biding his time, 0.2 of a second as we head down towards the chase. This is in the fight for 10th position. Was angling it towards the inside, covered off by the Aston Martin. of VSR Funky Fish heading out of turn 22. That was incredibly scary stuff to see in the fight for 10th. The 999 just making their way around turn 4. So Just Boris is back out on track looking to finish this race. Jay looks to be out of this race. They're having retired to the pits just a moment ago. One of the new drivers for round 8 of this championship running into imminent struggle. I mean, Bathurst is a real crowd splitter. It's somewhat of a Marmite track, or I suppose since we're in Australia, somewhat of a Vegemite track. You either love it or you hate it. That impact was quite something for the Aston Martin. We have people in chat at the moment asking about that. That was quite hefty. I would say in and around the sort of 20, maybe 30, even looking at a 40G impact. Scraping there between Taz and Funky Fish. Taz is to the inside at the cuttings. The Mustang's up into 10th. So definitely a little bit of argy-bargy, a little bit of shoulder rubbing and scraping there. Some touring car stuff from the 996, but he's up in the 10th. That was the goal. Now continuing the charge up out of Quarry Corner. VSR Twiglet, mind you, in the Lexus is now up into 4th position ahead of ETE Giles, who at the moment is absolutely loving it. The number 420 is in trouble. We want to get a look on board. That's out of McPhillamy. We're going to try and get a look on board here with VSR Daily Boy. That's the perspective of Regent, who is now the next in trouble there. The Ferrari with damage now being quickly approached by Elite Cassie after taking that drive-through penalty, is starting their climb towards a top 10 finish, looking to regain 4th at the best. They've got 43 minutes to do so, so never say never. It's looking like very solid momentum by the Mercedes and the McLaren tailing it. Looking around the track then, see our next spot of action. It's Elite Cassie versus Regent, not the BMW, the Mercedes chasing the Ferrari down the Conrod straight. The Merc's got better straight line speed. Regent tucking right back in to try and take advantage of the slipstream out towards the chase. No look of an imminent move there by Regent. You can see the damage over the nose of that 296. It's not looking particularly grand, but Regent looks to be staying in the fight as they hug right to the back end of Elite Cassie. The number 88 is also in trouble, this time down Skyline Hill. We'll try and get a look on board what's gone on there, the 88. Let's see if we can find them on track here. And that's Dollar Up down in the bronze category. You can see there, heavy damage. They've gone in on the right-hand side of the car. That's critical damage. That's actually out of McPhillamy, so we're just before Skyline Hill. You can see they're having to wrestle the controls there as they take the safety run off at Skyline Hill. That could be trouble for any cars approaching them, and we must consider current race leader, number 22, Tyler Vermack, is quickly approaching this section of the track himself. White flags there being waved by the marshals as we head out of the S's, round the dipper. You can see Dollar Up just having to jump out of the way. That was millimeters there. Did you see that bounce off the wall? Oh my goodness, that was millimeters between taking out the race leader. Suppose best not to think about the size of the bullets you dodged, just that you've dodged them in the sake of Tyler Vermack, as he continues to lead this race now by 5 seconds. So let's get a look around the field on our next battle. ETE Giles in the fight for 4th position up against VSR Twiglet. The battle of the front engine cars, the battle of the V8s, mind you, as well. See Dollar Up taking out the Amarok signs. Not a big Volkswagen fan, so it seems. Heading down the Conrod straight, it's incredibly close between Ford and Lexus. From the perspective of ETE Giles, what can he do as we head down towards the chase? He's looking for a move to the inside. It's looking very close between the pair of them. What can be the rebuttal by the Lexus? Naught as we head out of turn 22. There looks to be some damage over the nose of that Lexus as well. Something to factor in. Perhaps VSR Twiglet may have run into some trouble, even perhaps further with the sort of arrival of the number 88 car, Dollar Up in the middle sector with damage, though we did see by the time we caught up with them that he was out of the way. Jay's rejoining the field there, another front engine car almost in the middle of this fight for 4th position. ETE Giles now on the defensive. You can see the Mustang, the bonnet is loose, so there looks to be maybe a tiny bit of damage on the Mustang's nose, just as much so as the Lexus. You can see even despite the damage, they are staying razor thin close to one another. 0.3 of a second as we head up into turn 2. The number 8 still making their way down the Conrod straight at the moment. I think that might be, looking on it, I think number 8 is Grizz. So that could be trouble for another one of the McLarens. We want to try and get a look here It's Indian Goat that's actually took damage there. One of the new signings, they joined back in Brands Hatch. And they have now also met the unconditional wrath of Mount Panorama. Indian Goat there retiring to the pit lane. We're going on board the attacking of two drivers. VSR Twiglet previously on the defending. The Lexus has got quite the handful to deal with here. Mustang at the front and rear. He's in the stampede. What can the Lexus do against the new front engine cars on the block? Heading out of turn 18 we go. We hear the sonorous cry of three 5.4 litre naturally aspirated V8s. Two from Ford, one from Lexus. Heading down towards turn 23, you can see the gap has massively opened up between Gilles and Twiglet. And the same story in reverse between Twiglet and Soviet Mario, the three front engine V8s, all in a stalemate out of that last lap. Fastest of the three, though, was ETE Gilles in the 203 ranges, whereas these two were hitting for 204s and for 205s. Having a look around the field, we can see a battle going on behind them. That's with Oatsy, as we just see here. DSM Yonder taking damage in at the wall there. Even further troubles for the number 72 McLaren. That would be into the pits, most likely. You can now see the battle starting to brew between VSR Pete and Elite Cassie for 11th position. The Mercedes is on the charge for a top 10 finish here. 38.5 minutes left to go in round 8 of the championship. It's looking very strong. Ever since that drive-through penalty has done very little to deter the confidence of the new signing in the number 98. It is an incredibly punishing track, Bathurst. Make zero mistake of that. So we wanted to catch on board with this battle, then Oatsy was involved in it, and it's 3 cars in all. 3 cars in Passant for 7th position. Wade Nater chasing, not too far behind is Taz as well, another championship hopeful as we head into round 8. You can see heading down through the Dipper and the S's. It's been a very enthusiastic drive by the Mustang at the rear there. That's Taz in the number 996, the dark blue Mustang, chasing the white and blue Mustang of Wade Nater and the leading white and red Aston Martin, or white, black and red. You can see the little accents of red as it passes the camera of Oatsy. Makes Three's company in the fight for P7. So what can Oatsy do here? He's increasingly vulnerable to Wade Nater. He's going to make this too wide on the run down towards turn 21. It looks like he might even be ahead by the time we get to turn 21. Wade Nater's up and ahead then in the Mustang. Here's Oatsy going to be able to fight him back. You can see he was positioning himself for the move out of turn 22. You can see Taz is looking to make this 2 for 2 here as Oatsy peels into the pit lane. So a bizarre turn of events for the Aston Martin. Looks to be something has gone awry for him, whether it's tyres or damage. Oatsy's in at the pit lane with... Oh, well, there is that obvious consideration of taking the mandated pit stop as well, but a very early run to the pit stop, given just how lively the crowd has been over the course of this race. We were anticipating that midway pit stop about 6 minutes from now at the halfway mark of this race, where you get to see the bulk of those pit stops take place. A lot of drivers calling it early, in a way that otherwise suggests damage. Some drivers are doing this purely out of necessity to keep themselves out of the heat of fighting and preserve those tyres. So looking around the field to see where our next battle is coming from, VSR Millard in trouble with Porsche. 21st position limping around Solman into McPhillamy. You can see there the wall of death, ETE Gilles joining him, VSR Twiglet and Soviet Mario giving chase down towards McPhillamy Park. Wade Nater is getting increasingly close to that Porsche. And there's Taz for good measure. Despite the obvious challenges Ford has faced from a development perspective, getting the Mustang into a lively condition to compete here in GT3, and not only that, dealing with the heavy ballast coming into this particular event, they have done a magnificent job with the talents of a few of these drivers today. ETE Gilles, Soviet Mario, Wade Nater and Taz shining examples among them. Plenty of others giving chase. Right now, though, this is the fight for P5. We're watching the perspective of Soviet Mario, who most recently moved up into the gold category. So very optimistic stuff by Soviet. After starting the championship down in silver, they are making quick strides to the top echelon of VSR Phoenix, now giving chase to VSR Twiglet and his fellow 5.4 litre Lexus. Question being, now with them approaching that halfway mark, and we saw already the initiative taken in other battles by drivers like Otzi, is there going to be the notion that these guys will jump into the pits earlier to sacrifice perhaps maybe 1 or 2 positions in the long run, but to preserve those tyres and give themselves a much livelier second half of the race to bring things home? It's that longevity versus energy argument that has been as old as time itself when it comes to these single pit stop races, these sprint race formats. So we see League and League again here in ACC. The same conundrum arises for strategy all the same. We stay on board with Soviet Mario as he continues to give chase up round turn 2, and it's looking eerily close between the pair of them. We know this is a very tense spot of the track to go very close to one another at the cuttings, keeping it very wide at turn 3, sweeping in at turn 4, trying to preserve some of that momentum. Regent's in trouble down Skyline Hill. The number 420 throwing up yellow flags again. I believe Regent is out of this race. A bitter end there for Regent in the number 420 car. Ferrari out of this race. Things still business as usual though in that front row. And almost getting upset there over McPhillamy was Soviet Mario. It's caused him to back off a little bit as we head down Skyline. He's been able to back off the intensity after nearly throwing his own performance out of the window as we head out of the Dipper, through the S's and down to Forest's Elbow in the mountain section of the track here. These two have been absolutely breakneck speed with one another, on top of each other every single lap. No breathing space at all. The number 169 is in trouble at Forest's Elbow, and the number 996, so it appears, as well. That would be Taz in trouble there with Wadenator, if I'm not mistaken. That would have been down in the fight for, I think, 7th position at the time. Those two spilling over one another. We'll get a look at what's gone on between the pair of them as they head down the Conrod. And as far as it goes for Taz, does it look like a lot of damage, minor damage on the nose of Wadenator's car. You can see sliding through the chase, a little bit of damage over the rear as well, but doesn't look to be any significant aero damage. Both of them staying out on this lap, both of whom have also lost position out to the warring Mercedes at the moment. If we can go and find them on track, who've made very quiet strides up the pit since their drive through at the start of this race. Elite Cassie now on his lonesome, 6.5 seconds from the two Mustangs, and only 7 seconds to go to the nearest cars on track. We'll go back on board though, as it's half a second in the fight for P5. Now we take to the defending perspective. VSR Twiglet and Soviet Mario still right on top of each other here. The Lexus is putting itself in one of the best positions right now. Up through the mountain section, it is nigh impossible to stage a proper offensive for position, knowing it's functionally suicide to attempt such bizarre moves. Soviet Mario is getting very close, but he knows side by side is just not feasible at this stage of the track, at this stage of the race. He can't afford to be making moves that could cost him that position, and let alone cost him the race. So heading down into turn 18, this is where we could possibly see any moves side by side, and I think the move between the 169 and the 996 has perhaps proven to the rest of the grid why it isn't wise to do so, as we saw both of them have incidents down in turn 18. It's this area of the track that these drivers position themselves for, and with both of them so close in straight line speed, it is really hard to tell in which direction it's going to go. The Mustang has been really shown up by the performance of the Lexus. It's been bizarre to see the dichotomy between the two, but it looks to have finally boiled over in favour of Soviet Mario, who slides around the chase. So Twiglet's going to stay right on him. Will be to the inside at turn 23 at Murray's Corner. This has been brilliant stuff in the fight for 5th position. VSR Twiglet retakes 5th position now after temporarily losing it to Soviet Mario. Let him overcook his brakes down into turns 21 and 2. That is brilliant, brilliant racing from the pair of them. A lot of respect clearly shown between them. We get to see good, clean racing down in Sector 3, and it's only going to keep carrying on until one of them bails to the pits. Here, of course, both of them still with mandated pit stops to take in the next 30 minutes and 30 seconds. So up the mountain straight we go, up to turn 2. What can be done on this run around? Lap 14 of this race so far. It has been a brilliant round, to say the least. A battle of the V8s, as it was written. Lexus versus Ford. And if anything were to say happen ahead of them, with the BMWs of Tommy and VSR Chris, or even dare say the race-leading Ferrari, and this could even potentially be a battle for a podium. Right now, though, in the clear and narrow, this is in fact the battle of 4th position. We had to update our graphic there as heading down Skyline Hill. We've got Antion there halfway across the track, so these two may have to hit the brakes very, very shortly to keep out of the careening path of the damaged number 1. We go on board with Alexis, you can see, quickly catching up to the wounded Antion in the number 1 Ferrari 296. Out of turn 18 we go. Down the Conrod straight, and clearly being able to open the taps a little bit here. The Lexus is soaring away, 0.8 of a second, so that's one of the largest gaps there's been in this battle so far, especially down such an intense section of the track. We can see Antion running out into the gravel on the exit of turn 21 and 22. These two continuing their path down towards what looks to be the pit lane. Both of them joining in unison. Elite Cassie, very close behind them, is possibly looking for a run into the pit lane. We'll see. Is staying out on track then at turn 23. They'll both lose out positions. Mercedes on the warpath. A brilliant battle though between these two. We'll see where it picks up after their pit lane run. Looking around the field then to see where our battles are coming from, and just Boris, even after that incredibly early pit stop, is making moves here, now up into 10th position. It's highly unlikely he'll be able to reclaim the glory of that front row start that he shared in alongside Tyler Vermack and then lost out to, courtesy of Tommy in the BMW. But Josh Boris is dead set on the idea of getting to the end of this race in the points, and is clearly on the path to do so. 28 minutes to go, currently sitting in 10th. Oatsy ahead by 5.8 seconds. ETE Gilles, the next car up from them, 16 seconds from the McLaren. It's a long, long way to go, so we'll keep Just Boris in the back of our minds here. Right now is a battle for 13th position. Aston Martin versus McLaren as VSR Pete fights with VSR Funky Fish for position out of the chase at turn 21 and 2. Further up the field, we can see Taz and Wayne are side by side again. The Mustangs still fighting their way around Sector 3. We'll catch their battle in a moment's time as well. We scroll across to find them. That was razor thin between the pair of them. Ultimately, Wayne backed out of that move. We want to try and find then the perspective of Wade Nater, one of two Mustangs fighting there for 11th position. Just Boris up in 10th by 8.7 seconds. Now focusing our attention to this current fight for 11th. Taz and Wade Nater have properly clashed with each other over the course of this race. Of course, they had that incident down at turn 18 earlier on. They've been at each other's throats all through round 8. And even then, they've been on edge since Ford received that hefty 20-kilo ballast penalty coming in around 8 of the championship. So they've been on the back foot, but have made the most of it by delivering on what has been an exceptional set of drives from the pair of them. Wade Nater, of course, joining later into the championship, knows exactly what it's like to be sort of out of your depth in the middle of a championship with battles going on around you and making the most of the opportunities that it provides. And Taz is doing the same, and it looks like the worlds are about to collide as we see heading down Skyline Hill. Contact for Wade against the wall. Oh my goodness, it's over. Oh no, it has all gone pear-shaped for Wade and Nater. You see heading down to Skyline Hill, just cuts it too close to the inside. There, hits the far side, well, hits the near side wall. Oh no, it's all gone wrong for Wade and Nater. You can see it was a bit of awkward positioning out of McPhillamy. We'll get another replay on that. Out of McPhillamy, he's had to quickly avoid Taz. And then that's just set him up for a disaster there. That is, oh, that's gut-wrenching. Absolutely gut-wrenching. for Wade Nater, but he's still going. It's a real commitment to his tenacity to keep the event lively and to keep himself in the fight. But that has gone disastrously wrong for Wade Nater. That'll be an imminent run to the pit lane. He had it in the clear there. It's just one tiny mistake can upset the balance of an entire race here at Bathurst. It is among the most brutal tracks on the Intercontinental GT calendar. But he's staying out? No, I think it was just some steering issues there. That is... Oh, that is brutal. So, looking around the field to see where our next fights are coming from. Taz now just up the field from the next fight. On his lonesome. You now see the fight for what is quickly becoming potentially the fight of 10th position. That's if they can keep up with Taz in 10th position. VSR Pete and VSR Funky Fish still at arms here. The McLaren and the Aston Martin have provided us with a very interesting fight to watch. The Aston is remarkable at Bathurst. Having driven in championships before myself, I can attest to this point. That the Aston definitely does give some very solid performances on an intense track like this. That's been the story quite prevalent with a lot of the front engine cars over the course of this race. BMW holding on to second and third at the moment stands a testament to that exact point. Tyler Vermack, by the way, in the leading 22 Ferrari is only 6 seconds away from this fight and quickly approaching, yet to have taken their pit stop with 23, just under 24 minutes left to go. So as we head down the Conrod Straight, the Aston and the McLaren fairly evenly matched for straight line speed, but with the adage of slipstream, the Aston is going to keep in that 0.3 of a second barrier. Has actually drawn it down to 0.2 of a second. Looks to be in striking distance as we head out of turn 21 towards turn 22. Funky Fish, though, is going to run it around the outside. He's into the grass. He's going to have to cut the chase there, but he's going to rejoin behind Pete. So avoiding certain doom there. That could have been a disaster for the Aston Martin, but just took the run off and got himself to safety. The SR Twiglet and Elite Cassie now fighting. Lexus versus Mercedes. As Elite Cassie is on the warpath to retake 4th position. Is only 5 seconds away from achieving so. With ETE Geos up the field at the moment in 4th. 4.5 seconds ahead of him is Soviet Mario, who himself is fighting for that 4th position. Right now, though, he's got the Lexus for company in the fight for 6th. So having a look then at our fight for 4th position, we do want to get an onboard with one of the two cars invested in this. ETE Geos versus Soviet Mario. Ford versus Ford on the run down towards Skyline Hill. The same section of the track here that took Wade Nater out a few laps ago. He's still in the fight, but it's took him quite some way down the order. Two of his fellow compatriots at Ford Performance will still have to deal with the sort of uncertainty, the instability, so I'd say, of those Fords. Really struggling for words today. This race has really got me gobsmacked, to say the least. Heading down the Conrod Straight then. Staying on board with Soviet Mario in the gold category. Fighting with fellow gold driver ETE Geos. ETE Geos with a lot more at stake here, as he's only just made his way to second in the championship after a mighty round at the Circuit of the Americas. He's looking to keep the ball rolling, good momentum, and consistent clean driving is going to net him another very solid points finish, especially with just Boris behind him. That gap is going to start to close down if that track record continues for the next 8 rounds of the championship. This could be the Deus Ex Machina he's been waiting for all season long. Good things come to those who wait. We'll see where things pick up later down the line. We are happy to announce as well the news between ourselves and VSR Phoenix that for the foreseeable future we will try our hardest here on TRTN to cover all events until the end of Season 7. That is subject to change at the midway mark of this next coming half of the season. But looks like Soviet Mario is looking to make this a move to 4th position, going around the outside up through turn 2. Brilliant stuff there by the number 26. Let's get a gander on that. The replay reveals all, and he's had very good momentum. He's been in the slipstream there, all the way up the mountain straight. Down towards turn 2 we go. And it's just waited for ETGs to cave there, swept across the nose. Very, very well crafted. We'll pick up on where they left off here. Elite Cassie is slowly gaining ground. This could be Three's company very, very soon in the fight for 4th position. Soviet Mario taking prime advantage, though, over the course of Sector 1. And as we head down into Skyline Hill, is 1.1 seconds up the field from ETE Gilles, who now has to refocus his efforts on defending from the approaching Mercedes. We'll get a look then. This is looking more at the battle of 5th position for ETE Gilles, with Elite Cassie right on his tail, joining already in the gold category. What can Gilles do up against the Mercedes that is riding all over his rear bumper? He's in the slipstream now as we hit top gear on the Mustang. It's going to be nearly level pegging, heading down towards turn 21. It might just be in the favour there of the Mercedes. Yes, it is. Heading up towards the chase we go. Very well crafted by Elite Cassie, but what can ETE Gilles do over the course of the next lap here to fight that Mercedes back off? Not an awful lot in the way of it. Let's get a view from the perspective of the Mercedes as he eyes up his next target. See there, Grizz had some trouble down in 18th, just being lapped by Otzi and Boris, heading down into turn 23. Get a look here with Elite Cassie NL. It has been a phenomenal opening race. Despite the adversity of that starting drive-through penalty being set all the way down in 20th after the first couple of laps, Elite Cassie has really pulled through on what has been a remarkable opening performance. Of course, joining already up in the gold category, there was a lot riding on the hopes that they'd be able to deliver on a spectacular drive, and they've proven so today. Were it not for that drive-through penalty, we could have very well seen them fight with the 22 for the race lead. So right now, we're looking at the fight for 4th position. And that Mercedes has been second to none on that recovery drive. It has been truly remarkable to see someone pull through like that. And with this momentum, bear in mind 18 minutes left to go. The sooner they can get Soviet Mario out the way, the sooner they can close in on VSR Chris. Elite Cassie is going to soon, by the looks of it, return to a net neutral position. If they can get past Soviet, they'll be up where they qualified at the start of this race, bringing everything back net neutral. They could even elevate this to a podium finish. The momentum is there to do so. Heading out of the dipper, now through the S's, it's tantalizingly close between the Mustang and the Mercedes, down through Forest Elbow. Not eyeing up anything too early here. It'll be this moment of the track where he'll be looking for some moves, just as he did in the last lap on ETE Gilles. He's now right at the slipstream of the Mustang of Soviet Mario, heading down the Conrod straight there, nearly at VMAX for these cars. We're at 157 miles an hour, 160 as we head down towards the chase, but backing out of a move to the inside. So really late braking and good defense by Soviet Mario to hold up 4th position off of the Mercedes. Really putting up a fight there at the chase as we head out of Murray's corner, turn 23. Elite Cassie is stuck in place at the moment unless they really squeeze for a move on the next couple of corners. They'll be following the back end of that Mustang around the track for one more lap, but they're not waiting any longer. Into Hell Corner we go, turn 1. The Mercedes on the inside, but the Mustang still alongside, heading up towards turn 2. If they can hold position here, the Mustang will be to the inside at turn 2. The Mercedes is right alongside him, but of straight line speed, it is very close between the pair of them. AMG versus Ford Performance down at turn 2 we go. Elite Cassie, is he going to try and swing it around the outside? Not this time around, says Soviet Mario, going to the inside. Cassie's in at the wall, down to 5th, holding very close to 4th position. Is going to be nearly the inside at the cuttings. That was razor thin between the pair of them. It's actually dropped him back into the jaws of ETE Gilles here. That Mustang could be having a go for 5th position very shortly if Soviet Mario continues to put up such a strong defense in that Ford. Round past the wall of death then at Solman, in at McPhillamy Park now, heading to Skyline at turn 13. Turn 11, I should say, down towards turn 13. It has been a fantastic battle to watch at the moment from such a new driver to this championship. The first we've heard of them, and keep this name on your radar, ladies and gents. This is one to remember. Elite Cassie NL and the number 98 Mercedes is really wowing all expectations. The 999! The 999 had trouble. That was just Boris. We saw it on the map just then. We were flabbergasted by the state of the battle going on screen. The 999 has retired from this race. Oh my word, it has been a huge turn of fate. The championship leader on the first race of retirement this season. Has been consistently up and around the front row. This is his first DNF since Zolder. And I shouldn't say Zolder this season, it's Zolder in Season 3 of the TRR Sprint Series last year. So that's the first time in over a year here on TRTN that we've seen it. History is shifting here in VSR Phoenix Season 7. The absolute marble performance of Just Boris has cracked, and beneath it has shown the weaknesses in his performance, and that has really been brought out today by Mount Panorama. I'm sure he's going to try and come back even stronger going into the Hungaroring, which I believe is the next round of this championship. Taking a look at our calendar, yes it is Hungaroring on the 26th, and then Misano as we go into March for round 10. We're back in the endurance lineup for an hour, and I think it's an hour and 45, even an hour and 25 minutes, but it's extended time nonetheless. So in this second half of the season, Boris cannot afford any more results like this, as that could seriously throw what has been a commanding lead of the championship into jeopardy, especially with rising talents like that of Hayden Puttock and Elite Cassie entering the fray in and around the halfway mark and properly putting on a show here. This is making for an incredible second half of the season. We thoroughly look forward to next Wednesday at the the Hungaroring. Right now, here in the land down under, New South Wales, Australia, Mount Panorama has laid claim to some of the best battles all season. Oh my word, did you see that tap there between the Mercedes and the Mustang? That could have ended in absolute disaster between Soviet Mario and Elite Cassie. But heading down to the chase, the Mercedes is going to try its hardest here for a move up around turn 21 and 22. So as we hear from chat as well, Boris was hit by a flying Porsche earlier on in the race, but was that to do with the incident down at Skyline? Was the issue at Skyline a compounded issue from the damage he sustained in the impact with said flying Porsche? We've been laser focused on what has been one of the greatest battles for position we've seen all season between Elite Cassie and Soviet Mario, that we missed out on one of the most decisive points in Boris's career in this season. He already missed out on his flawless record back in the Circuit of the Americas, and it's gone from what he would say is bad to even worse. That's no discredit to Boris's ability. He has had a proper commanding lead, so it is bizarre to see things change so quickly. Is it really the case where Mount Panorama is the 999's kryptonite? Because in the background there, Evil Smiler took a big shunt at the wall at turns 3 and 4 at the cuttings. Cassie scraping the wall there, out of Quarry, through Reed, now through Solman, past the Wall of Death, now to McPhillamy Park, now to the Skyline. This is where Cassie closes in. You can just see how commanding his control of that Mercedes is. He's absolutely flying down Skyline. When the Mustang's having a tiptoe on the brakes, Cassie is properly licking the stamp and sending it down Skyline. You see, just feathering the wall there on the exit of turn 18, using every available inch of the track to give himself the run that he needs here on the Conrad. Things got very hairy in the last lap, but now looks to be going much more favourably in the favour of Elite Cassie. Was cut off once there by Soviet Mario. He's going to switch it around to put himself at the inside down at the chase, but goes wide into the grass. Following him there was Soviet Mario, who's going to retake the position. So another exciting chapter to unfold here. Oh my word. You really can't write a good battle like that. That is some second to none stuff, and really providing on some brilliant drama in this race. Let's go on board with another battle which is appearing just behind them here. Oatsy v Twiglet, Aston versus Lexus on the run down towards turn 1. Oatsy positioning himself for the inside, trying to force a conceded line out of the Lexus. You can see out of turn 1 the Aston still had better momentum. You can see that Cassie is quickly catching up So we'll have to go back on board with them very shortly. But we want to see where things spill over here in the fight for 7th position between Otzi and Twiglet heading down to turn 2. It's looking very close between Aston Martin and Lexus on the run in to Griffin's Bend. It has been a phenomenal race here at Mount Panorama. One of, if not my favourite circuit in the ACC calendar. In any series, puts a big smile from ear to ear on my face whenever I see it on the calendar of these series. And I thoroughly look forward to the next time we get to visit this track, as it has always provided on an exciting race. Whether it's been back in the time of GHR, whether it's been in the Sprint Series, whether it's been at AXRL, where I went to there a handful of times with the Australian League, and it was a brilliant time there as well. Coming back to Bathurst here with VSR Phoenix has reminded me time and time again why this is one of the greatest circuits in GT racing. We want to try and take a look around. The number 11 is in trouble. Trying to find out what has gone on there. Rafing with damage. Looks like sizable damage over the nose there of the Ferrari. What is going to be going on there for Rafing? You can see they are barely chugging along here. Looks like engine damage as well for the 488. They've gotten back going, but very slowly but surely there. That was almost on limp mode. So let's see if we can go and find the state of affairs here. Cassie now up ahead of Soviet Mario. We sadly missed out on that move. That was down to Conrad into the chase. Heading down towards turn 1 then. It has been a brilliant performance out of these two. I don't think Soviet Mario is ready to give that fight up. 9 minutes left to go. That has gone by like a breeze, this hour-long race, as we've been given a real treat out of these drivers today. Chief among them is Elite Cassie, who I would definitely say is in the gunnings for driver of the day. We could also be seeing a brand new race winners if we go and try and find them right now. It has been a commanding lead by Tyler Vermack on his first drive for Ferrari in this season. It is a real tough one to pick between 1st and 4th for that driver of the day. 8.5 minutes will decide that choice, but it has been second to none, one of the greatest races of the season. Plenty of drama and championship stakes being raised here. The 999, we'll try and find if the 999 is still on track, though I believe they have retired. I think that was the towel thrown in back at Skyline Hill. We just see here Grizz making his way down through that section on his lonesome there in 22nd. We do want to see, we do have quite a few by the looks of it DNFs. We started with 30 drivers, we're down to 24. So I think it is a reasonable assumption that among those... Ooh, did you see that there? Step out of oversteer by the Mustang. Let's just get a gander at that. We were scrolling across the paddock as we head down towards turn 18. We were just looking on for a split second. It was very good recovery by Soviet Mario. So he's scrolling across and bam, there you can see steps to the left, the rear, and the front end hooks in on the right. So that has been very good recovery by Soviet Mario. He's dropped back some way. He's 1.3 seconds out from 4th position of Elite Cassie at the moment, looking to maintain a net neutral finishing standard. Qualified 4th, finishing 4th, absolutely nothing to scoff at. It's been a brilliant comeback drive, definitely putting them in the bookings for driver of the day. Funky Fish now without Pete is off by his lonesome as Pete looks to take the fight to Taz, who himself has proven a very capable fighter in this round. He's definitely got his knuckles a bit bloodied in this round, but has definitely put on a hell of a show in that Mustang. We're now looking at the fight for 7th position. VSR Twiglet versus ICE Otzi, heading up the mountain straight. The Aston and the Lexus inseparable here in the closing minutes of round 8. Up through the cuttings we go. We have just Boris as well joining us in chat there. An unfortunate result today, but we know that you're going to come back next week even stronger. So here's hoping for brighter horizons, let's say, on the run into the Hungaroring. Does make things particularly interesting then. Of course, a 170 point gap That's going to drop down by 50, down to 120, so still in a very grand position in the championship standings. He's put himself in a very comfortable buffer zone for a result like that. So heading into Hungaroring, whilst the stakes have definitely been raised, he'll be coming back even stronger. And now with a properly fired up grid behind him, it's going to make a very interesting next race. So here's looking forward to it. Nonetheless, back on board the Battle of 7th as we head down the Conrod. Twiglet v Otzi on the run down towards the chase. It has been very close between this pair. The Battle of the V8 roars on. Now Lexus v Aston Martin. And Otzi was very nearly looking for it there. You can see the posturing by the Aston as they catch up to ETE Gilles. This is quickly becoming the battle of 6th position. Right now, locally, the battle of 7th. Yellow flags are out for the pit lane. I believe that's just because of early retirement from DSM Yonder. Heading out of Murray's corner, turn 23, down towards turn 1 we go. It has been incredible stuff between the pairing, soon to be Three's company by the momentum they've carried here in the closing 10 minutes of racing. We're down to beyond, down to just under, I should say, not beyond 5 minutes racing. The number 77 is in trouble down at the chase. And we'll just quickly see what's gone on down there. That was VSR Pete that ran into trouble. You can see the McLaren making his way back out in front of Aussie on screen. Minor damage on the McLaren. Otzi and Twiglet out of turn 2 are quickly catching up to ETE Gilles. So in the closing minutes of this race, things could boil over into being a phenomenal final battle for 6th position. Twiglet has really put all 8 cylinders to work here. The Battle of the V8s could give us a crescendo act. AMG V8 backing up the rear here, courtesy of the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. 5.4 litre Lexus V8 in the middle, and a 5.4 litre Ford M Sport Performance V8 leading this Three's company in the fight of the V8s here in Australia. Only fitting that the home of the biggest event of the V8 Supercars Championship is now laying claim to one of the biggest battles of V8 GT3 cars here at the end of VSR Phoenix Round 8. So down towards Forest's Elbow, we are now in effect looking at the fight of 6th position. I see that is going to quickly drop back to 7th. I think I spoke a little bit too soon there. The Mustang has properly got away there out of turn 19, down towards turn 20 and 21 at the chase. Otzi still in the slipstream here. No, we are absolutely back in the battle of 6th now. You can see how razor thin things are between Twiglet and Gilles. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can go on board with Twiglet. Get the middle of the road perspective here in this fight. That's Gilles' perspective. We want to try and get Twiglet's. There he is. Number 96 Lexus in the middle of this Three's company here. The white Aston Martin of Otzi right behind him. And in front of him, the green and yellow Mustang of ETE Gilles. Otzi was almost looking for the inside at turn 1. This is getting red hot between these three today. To kick off the end of this, well, to cap off, I should say, the end of this round is giving us one of the best battles we've seen. We've seen quite a few today, so it's been very hard to crown it. VSR Twiglet looking around the outside at turn 2 on ETE Gilles. Can he make the move stick out of turn 2? The Mustang's got the run on the exit of turn 2 up towards turn 3 and 4 at the cutting. Things are getting very close here at the end of round 8. Out of the cutting there, a little twitch by the Mustang is allowing the Lexus back into the fight. So up through Quarry. 0.2 of a second either side of it here. Now up through Solomon Park down towards McPhillamy. A brush with the wall of death there by the leading of the 3. ETE Gilles getting uncertain. Even getting uncertain behind him there as well is Otzi. Twiglet the only one on the flyer through McPhillamy, bringing it to good momentum here at the Skyline Hill. Down through the Dipper and then into the S's. You can see just how much grunt the Mustang has though, forging out nearly half a second in that sector alone. We're on that last lap now with the 22. We cannot take our eyes off this battle. Fortunately, I think we're about to see this battle boil over. VSR Twiglet is on the warpath. He's in the slipstream and now alongside ETE Giles on the run to the chase. Up into 6th position goes VSR Twiglet on a heroic last-ditch effort here. The Mustang now drops behind the Lexus and into the iron sight of the Aston Martin of Otzi, but Giles has got a proper run out of the chase, looking towards the inside, doesn't make it stick, backs out of it on better intuition at turn 23, keeping things rolling into the final lap. This is going to be one to watch here, ladies and gents. Do not go anywhere. Of course, we do want to keep our eye very close to the top left hand of the screen. The 22 rounding turn 18 at the moment, making their way to the Conrod Straight for the final time. Tyler Vermack has shared in a phenomenal, commanding presence on the field in his first drive with Ferrari. We're going to look on board with him very, very shortly here. So you can see things still boiling over between Giles and Otzi as we head into the cuttings. Let's go on board then with Tyler Vermack, who has shared in a brilliant performance here in round 8 of the championship. Second to none stuff there by Tyler Vermack as he rounds the chase for the final time on his first ever drive in Season 7 with Ferrari, leaving Lamborghini behind for grander pastures. Tyler Vermack in round 8 of the championship is a race winner. Joins the list now, 3 names to win races in Season 7. Let's go back on board then. A heroic fight to the line as down the hill we go. Twiglet from Giles and Otzi, 6th, 7th and 8th. The battle of the V8s to crown things off here in the land down under. Heading out of the S's. Down towards turn 18. Forest's Elbow gives chase now to the Conrod Straight. The Mustang, the fastest of the 3, will be in the slipstream on the run down towards the chase. This couldn't get closer if it tried. We've also got the battle behind them there. Taz v Funky Fish will catch up with them in a moment's time as things look to go nuclear in the run between Giles and Twiglet. The Mustang, though, has a bit of excess drag, has just dropped away a little bit there, surfing his momentum down towards the chase. The Aston Martin looking to get a leg up here, a bit of a stab of oversteer on the chase. What could Otzi plan on doing here? Down towards Murray's as it looks to be for naught. Heading down to the line then. These 3 have shared in a phenomenal crowning battle here in Bathurst. Twiglet finishes in 6th. Giles 7th. Otzi in 8th. What a race between these 3. That has been brilliant, brilliant stuff. Let's see where things go, though, in the battle of Funky Fish v Taz. As Funky Fish is now ahead of the Mustang. The Taz is at the back of the top 10 now. What can he do? Heading down towards the line. Is he going to try for one more move into turn 23? It's going to look a little bit desperate from this distance. Taz in the final rung of laps loses out, and I believe will then, yes, finish in 10th. But nonetheless has been a valiant opening drive by the newcomer to bronze. Taz in the top 10 on his first bronze drive. Will be looking at a silver promotion by the end of the season, but our race winner today has held the grid in the palm of his hand, all 29 laps in all of the hour here at Bathurst. Tyler Vermack, a race winner at last. Tommy in 2nd, VSR Chris in 3rd, Elite Cassie in 4th on a brilliant opening drive in the 98 Mercedes. Soviet Mario in the top 5 ahead of VSR Twiglet, who shared in a eternal fight there with Giles and Otzi there in 7th and 8th, rounding out the top 10. VSR Funky Fish and Taz. What an end to this round. Plenty of twists and turns there and a dramatic change of fate for the championship leader as he now loses 50 points in his commanding lead, drops from 170 to 120 points in the championship. So not a huge dent in what has been a nonetheless commanding lead by Just Boris, but a major, major blow to his confidence. He'll be coming back ever stronger in Hungary. And this is setting up to be an exciting second half of the season here with such a riled up grid. We've seen racing at its most nuclear between these drivers today. And he is hoping for 8 more rounds of this. You'll be joining us next Wednesday from the Hungaroring for round 9 of the championship here on VSR. And the moment our schedule clear for this weekend as we wait to hear news with the most recent announcement of NLRL Sunday League Season 2. The starting date to be revealed in the near future, so do keep a close ear to the ground when it comes to that. From us here, though, on TRTN, it has been a fantastic round, nonetheless. And well done today by Tyler Vermack in securing the race win and the fastest lap on his first drive with Ferrari. Brilliant, brilliant stuff today. That's all from us, though, on TRTN. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and good night.